Welcome to my channel. This is Mitchell Makes Cardboard. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this Boba Fett fresh helmet. So I made you this video in order to show you how I made this. Remember, before we start, like and subscribe down below in the comments and leave comments for me to request what helmet. Thanks.
Okay, so to start off, what I'm going to be doing is I made this little template here that's the exact size of what I want it to be. You can just kind of look at a picture and freehand it. I will put this template up somewhere eventually, and it will help you to make the exact designs for what you want and make sure that they're even on both sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this all out and cut it out. There we go. I'm just going to pop this out. Try not to rip any of the edges. I cut this all out with my X-Acto knife. So go gently along. Pop it all out. You can use with scissors. I just thought it would be easier, especially with this long filter thing, to use an X-Acto blade. But you can do whatever you want. Okay, and there we go. There's the template out of cardboard, and that should be the exact size that I need it at. Now what we're going to do is we're going to round it out. And in order to do this, you can just take on the back and take an X-Acto knife and just make little slits all along here. Make sure you kind of stop at the edge of these long blocky thingies at the end, because those need to be straight. But otherwise, go along and make little gorges on the back of each section, because this will help it bend easier. Okay, I've glued them all in now. You can see it's pretty sturdy, and it will hold its shape and create the thing. And that way these won't come apart from the front, but they'll still stay all level with this for when I build the rest. I'm going to move on to the back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just basically take a piece of cardboard and make sure you're checking your reference photos. And in this picture you can see it goes from the back underneath this back piece right here and just wraps around. And it's just a flat piece of cardboard, and you're going to measure your head with it. You'll put it up to your face, wrap it around the back, and cut off where you need. I think you can add this angle going back that I will show you.
So for this, I just took a pencil and sketched a sort of diagonal line around the back.
Okay, so I wrapped it all around. It's not very sturdy, you see, but it will become more sturdy when you finish the helmet. But you can see the edge of this, there's a big gap of cardboard right here that you want to cut off. But you want to make sure that you're following this angle back. It creates this back angle type thing. It comes up just like that. That way it will just sit at this angle and will match the front of the helmet. So I'm going to be showing you how you can just take a pencil and sketch a light line around the back.
So for these inner cheekbone pieces, I just took the template from what I cut out the main T visor from and just angled them out and drew a little dome shape on it and then cut it out at an angle. Make sure this is at a sort of 45-degree angle shape, and then you're good.
Alright, so this is what I have. I have cut these pieces out. You can see that it's created this bevel effect. It's at a 45-degree angle-ish. You don't have to measure the angle, but just know that this is what the look you're going for is. So I'm going to take this, and I realized that I cut the opposite side, but it's fine because it's going to bend, and I can just cover that up with Spackling Paste right there, so you won't be able to see that it's cut. But I'm going to just start to glue this in now, and it's just going to sit right in there and create the cheekbone effect. And in order to do this, you're going to want to make sure, when you look at this, you can see it's flattening out and circling around here. What you want to do is make sure that this is all straight while you're gluing it in, holding it like this. What you can do is cut a piece of cardboard out as a circle while you're holding it in shape, trace along, and then slide that circle in. That just takes a lot of extra time that I don't really want to do. So what I'm going to do instead is just hold it on while I glue. And the gluing should be able to just hold it in place afterwards.
Take your time on these parts, apply hot glue to the edges and the inner angles, and then just slowly make your way across, adding extra hot glue where needed. Make sure that you take the time to create that bend and make sure that it's level while you are gluing it. You're just going to repeat this for the other side.
Okay, now this part may be a bit tricky, but what you want to do is just take your time and slowly glue this all in. Line it all up on the bottom, and then just take your hot glue gun and go along and fill in all those gaps.
Okay, just again, take your time, go along the angles and add extra hot glue where you're needed. And then you're going to do this for the same thing on the other side. For this next part, what you're going to want to do is just make sure that you have 2 long strips of cardboard cut out. What you're going to do is just take one, cut it in half, and connect it to the top. Then you're just going to take your time and glue it to the front, and then bend it over to the sides. And then you will create this bent shape that will create a half sphere for you that will fit over as the top of the dome.
Okay, you can see that I've glued all these supports on. And just make sure that it actually fits your head, that your eyes will sit in the right spots. And just sit that on your head. If it doesn't fit, you need to go in, make it so it's longer. If it fits perfectly, then you can move on to the next step. Next step is pretty easy. Basically the exact same thing you're doing except filling in these sides. So you're going to take a strip of cardboard, kind of like this, and just go like this. Trace underneath where to cut. Glue it on. You're going to do that for all the sides. Now looking at it, you can see that I've completed all these little inside stripe parts, and it's all pretty much even for the most part. Now sitting it down, just make sure that you're always putting it on your head, double checking it, and making sure that your eyes will be able to see out of it when it's done. The last thing you want is something that you can't see out of it. So now, what you're going to do is you're going to take another piece of cardboard like this. You're going to cut a strip. You're going to bend it up so that it will be able to bend. And you're just going to put it on the inside like this. Line it up with that inside triangle part, and then trace it. Now it's okay if you don't get this your first try. This does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, you'll be able to get a nice triangle that will fit exactly to that hole, and then you're just going to glue it in. So you should be able to just take that and keep trimming where you need to. This is a little bit offset right here. You're just going to trim it right along. You can see how it was. Now lining that up again. The top is good. Bottom is still a little bit wide. I'm going to go back and trim that more. Now this should be pretty much good. I'm just going to line this all up, and then I can glue that in just like that. I'm going to do that for all 8 of these. Alright, so you can see I've filled in all the gaps with those pieces of cardboard, and you're going all the way around the back. It's completely covered, and now you have your dome. Now what you're going to do is, I just took a pencil and drew in these little arrows right here. And then on the top, right there, you can see I just drew a little squiggly circle type shape. Drew that on, and that will be the dent. What you're going to want to do is just gently take your X-Acto knife and just go right along here, cut that hole, and you're gonna want to do the same thing right here. All right, you can see I'm done. So there's the front. I just cut the first layer of the cardboard off. I didn't go all the way through, but this one I went all the way through. You can see the Sith Trooper over there. Invader. But what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take a piece of cereal box and cut it to the shape of this dent right here. Fold it up so it's a little bent, and then I'll glue it on the inside and it'll look like a dent, which is what you want it to look like.
Okay, again, like I said, just cut out a little circle, fold it up along your finger, and then glue it into the shape of the dent. You can always trim off excess with your X-Acto knife if you need.
Alright, this is what I did. So I glued it all in, and then I just took my X-Acto knife, went over all the edges so it's nice and smooth. Look so as this going in. This dent is pretty accurate. What I'm going to do now is add these side things. Well, no, I'm going to start with the back. So on the back, you can take your reference images. Get this one, for example. You can see there is a back vent right here and a back strip running along the back. So what we are going to do is take a thin strip of cardboard, cereal box cardboard, and just run it all the way along the back. And then we will add the back vent. All right, here we go. This is my cut out strip. Still bends pretty well, but you can see that it's gonna line up nicely on the back there. Now I will be able to add all these details on the inside with this extra piece. What we're gonna do now, just checking the reference photo. There are 6 to 7 of these, and this little strip is less than 4.5 inches long. So let's see what we can do. I'm just gonna freehand this because I really don't want to take the time to do all this math. But you can just do the same thing as me. Just freehand it. Trying to get around 7 in there. There you go, that's what it looks like so far. These lines. And I'm just gonna draw the detail in, which it slants up and goes across. Slants, goes across, and goes down. So you're just gonna draw these lines like this, all up along here. There we go. It's all glued on now. You can see that back vent piece is nice and smooth and sturdy. And what we're gonna do is gonna take these 7 pieces right here. You can see them right here. So basically, I'm going to take these 7 pieces and glue them on one by one. We're gonna take just one of them and we're gonna put glue at the top first. There's one right there, but then they're evenly spaced out for the rest of the way. So in order to do this, you can just take some glue right along here. Take it and just slide it up there so it's stuck in the glue. And there you go, there's one of them, and I'm just gonna put the rest on.
So this earpiece is pretty simple. I just took a small rectangle piece of cardboard, bent it into a angle, glued it on some cereal cardboard and cut it out so it angled up. But then I just took an oval and glued it on.
All right, there we go. I have it all glued up. So I just took a piece of cereal box cardboard and just bent it over and glued it on. Now what I'm gonna do is just line this up, leave a little space at the bottom for a triangle piece that's gonna sit there, and I'll glue that on.
This is pretty simple. Just take a piece of cardboard again, angle it, cover the ends with cereal cardboard, and trim it up so that there's no excess cardboard hanging off. Then for this, I just took 2 rectangle-shaped U pieces, or 3 rectangle shaped U pieces, glued them all together, and covered the corrugation with cardboard. If you want detail on that, watch the Dark Saber.
Before I glue this on, in order to make the rangefinder be able to move, I'm just taking a PVC pipe. It doesn't really matter how thick you want it. This is just roughly how I'm doing. Just found it in my garage, and I'm just placing it down right in the center of this thing, tracing it around, creates this circle that I'm that out. And when I place it on, I'm gonna also trace it onto this helmet. After I cut this out, I'll glue that on, trace it on the helmet, and then I'll cut a piece of the PVC pipe out, glue that in right there.
Okay, cut that hole out, then just take a small piece of the PVC pipe, just cut a little bit, glue it in on the inside, make sure it's nice and snug, put lots of glue, but then glue that little piece that we cut out earlier and glue that all around.
Okay, so I've made this little piece, this cover. What this is this slants downward, that bottom piece right here, and you can see I've just covered up the corrugation. It's 2 little pieces of cardboard stacked on top of each other, glued together, and then covered with paper so you don't see the corrugation. And then this is just this loop. And so this will just fit nice and snug on there when I'm done with it. Okay, so you can see this is all glued on. It's just a piece of cardboard rolled up pretty tightly, and then I just glued this down. It's pretty sturdy. You got glue all around the top and connecting to the side. So now you can see, you take it like this, and you just slide it into that piece right there. You'll stick it there, and you'll be able to just turn it back, and these little things will stop it from going too far. And it will put it right level with your eyes. Now what you want to do is this is going to basically go right here. And you can see that's going to cover that.
Alright, for this I just kind of freehanded it. You'll see in the next clip, it's a bent piece of cardboard that slants down, and this is the top of the rangefinder I'm doing. You can just freehand it, just make sure that you're checking reference photos to make sure that you have the exact image that you want on your rangefinder.
This is the finished look. I just freehanded it. It's not totally perfect, but I'm just going to go with it. Anyways, you can see it has this bent effect and connects into that. And then underneath, I have this little scanner piece. That way when it falls in front, you'll be able to see it will look nice and cool. Now in order to do the rest, you notice in your reference photos that it's offset a little bit to there. So it's going to look like this and on the edge. And this is not a circle, so you need to either take a piece of cardboard like this or use a rectangle palette. Okay, here we go. This is all spackled up, which basically means I took stuff for the wall. It's called Spackling Paste. Basically, if you aren't familiar with this, you just take it. It comes in a little container. Just take it in your finger, just get a glob, and just rub it along all the seams and cracks to fill in these corrugation lines and all the seams on the top, because you want it to be real smooth and look real. And what I'm going to do now is these little arrow things on the front got a little filled in. I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and go through and carve the spackle out, because I want to see those. Be careful with this, you don't want to trim all the actual spackle in the helmet away. There we go. That's all done, and now I'm gonna wait for this to dry. I have this cool spackle that's basically color coded. So when it's pink, it's wet, and when it's white, it's all dry and ready for sanding. So I'm just gonna let this all dry out. Once it becomes all white, then I will go and I'm gonna sand it all down. Then I will start the painting process. While we're waiting though, I am going to tell you, make sure that you have a respirator, that can mean like a mask or something while you're sanding, just so that you don't breathe in all the dust coming. But so far, it looks pretty nice.
Okay, for this I started with 220 grit sandpaper, went in, sanded down all the rough edges and went down everywhere that I could. Then I took 2000 grit sandpaper.
And I'm officially done. This is the final paint. You can see all these slightly weathered silver marks. Makes it look really nice. Here's the back. There are all the stripes. And I'm gonna glue this side thing in. So what I do is I'm gonna slide this in first. Make sure it's on there. This. And I'm going to take this and just put this about there. And there you go. This is glued on. And then you can see that this rangefinder just drops down. Looks really nice. You can do it. So all that is good. All that is left now is the visor. So now what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to get rid of these supports. And in order to do that, I'm gonna clean up this paint first. And we are done. Here is the visor template.
So for this, just put a piece of paper on the inside of the visor, take a pencil and trace along that T-visor, then cut around the lines you made.
It's stuck in, traced on the outside. And now what I'm gonna do is take my grinding lens right here. I'm just gonna lay it out right on here. Use a Sharpie because a Sharpie should work perfectly fine. I'm just gonna, all right, so I have my template traced on. Probably can't really tell unless I hold it up to the light, but you can kind of see it. Anyways, I'm just gonna trim this out, cut it all out, and then I will show you what it looks like. Alright guys, there you go. This is my finished look of the helmet. You see it looks nice and dark, but you can't see inside. It's very reflective, very smooth, stays on nice and tight, and that's the final. Good job guys. Good job on doing this helmet. I hope you enjoyed.
There you have it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. This has been Mitchell Makes Cardboard. Remember, please like and subscribe down below and click the notification buttons.